Hello. So today we are here to talk about something that bothers a lot of readers, rereads. Now, this is something I personally do every year starting right before Valentine's Day. I go on my reread list. Now, my reread list consists of about 10 or so books, some of which are series, some of which I even read out of order every year in the same order. So anyway, let's get this conversation started. Intro! Hello and welcome back. So today we are going to, I've already did my intro. So first book in my reread challenge that I do every year. I've done this every year since 2013. So the first book I always go read is Warm Bodies by Isaac Marion. It's showing it to you backwards. I'm hoping it'll fix it in the video, but so Isaac Marion is one of my favorite authors of all times. I did not get to be a patron on his Patreon account, and I hate that, and hopefully I'll be able to join it soon. I just have issues with Patreon for some reason. It kicks me out. So I don't know why. It's like when my email doesn't go through. But okay, back to this. Hopefully I'll be able to add a nice layover right there. So I honestly cannot say enough good things about Warm Bodies. It's my favorite book of all time. It's deep. It lets you see into the zombies world. R is lovable, even though as much as I love this series, he is a bad dad. At least in this book. One of the main things is R has issues with being able to say words. He wants to know things. He wants to talk to people. He wants to live a better life, and I really appreciate R for that. When he starts becoming human again, I get confused because I'm like, zombies don't pee, and he pees. You'll understand the series once I tell you more about it. So I always reread this about this time of year. I always try to finish it. This book used to take me about a month to finish. Now it takes me about a day and a half. R is my favorite character. The reason I reread R every time and every year is because in the year 2013, when I first got this book, when I was first rereading this book, not rereading, when I first started reading this book, my family was going through literal heck, and my uncle was in the hospital, and then while my uncle was in the hospital, my aunt got diagnosed with cancer, and she lasted 8 days. And during those 8 days, this book was what I cried into. This book is what I screamed into. This book is what I bent the fire out of. This book helped me get through things. This book has been thrown against walls, not because of how the story, just because it was there and convenient and for me to take my frustration out on. And this book sucked me into the story and helped me cope, I guess. And the book really just helped me a lot during that time. I believe books are a world to escape into when you really need to escape, and that was a time I needed to escape. So this is a book that I always recommend if you're going through something and you need to escape, because this book will be there for you. I do recommend getting the paperback because the hardback will make a hole in your wall. So the next book I always reread is, of course, The Burning World. This is actually a book I bought, and it's both, I think. It's got both in it. It's The Burning World and Warm Bodies. I can't remember if this is my copy of it like that or not. I don't think it is. I think this is just The Burning World. Yeah, this is just the copy of The Burning World. I have about 10 copies of Warm Bodies. I'm just going to be honest with you. I also have about 10 copies of The Burning World. Why? Because I want to support the author. Yes, I reread them that much too, but this is my first copy. This is the one I love the most, and this is the one that I threw against walls. Why? The rest of the copies I own are either, the rest of the ones I own like that are all paperback too. this book is one I've read it. I love the backstories. I really, really do. I won't go too much into this one because it's still sort of newish. But again, it's in my reread list. I love, love, love it. And the third book is one that I can honestly say I have not read yet. Why have I not read it? I don't know. The Living by Isaac Marion. I just haven't read it yet because I don't want the series to end. Yes, this year I have decided I'm going to put my foot down and I'm going to reread it. Not reread, read it. I haven't read it yet. I just didn't want their story to end, but it's time I put their story to a rest. It's been a while. I've had this book almost a year and I haven't read it yet. Again, this is one of my prized possession books, as you can tell. It still has the dust ruffle on it. The dust ruffle is something I leave on books that I claim are my prized possessions. So this book does have the dust cover, and I've never actually even opened it. Well, I've opened it, of course. I've tried to read it, but I've never got past the first chapter because then I'm like, you know, I should probably reread the rest of the series again. So this year I've decided I'm putting my foot down and I'm reading it. I also, when I bought this book, got this cool bookmark that I still have in the book because I'm a collector like that. And I got this really cool sticker, which I'm trying to figure out what I want to put it on because I do want to put it on something. I just don't know what yet. So those are the first books I always read in my reread. So we're going to move on to another series I really love that I actually read out of order. The next series we're going to talk about is the Darkest Power series by Kelly Armstrong. I really love Kelly Armstrong's books. I've read Bitten and all the Darkest Power series and the spin-off series of the Darkest Power, which I cannot remember the name of to save my life right now, but I've read it. And so, the Darkest Power series, hopefully there'll be a pretty picture right here. So I really, really love this series. I really, really do. I always have. But I have a quirk about this series, which is I read it backwards, sort of. I read it out of order. I start with Awakening instead of The Summoning because I just always have. This is my copy of The Summoning. Not The Summoning, The Awakening. It's beaten, it's battered, it's about as bad as Warm Bodies because I was reading these at the same time. Not the same time, but same time frame. And at the time, I did not know this was a series. It's a book I had just picked up. It had been in my collection a long time, and I had never read it. It's actually a book me and my mom had got, and she was going to read it with me, and then that kind of fizzled out. So, when I got older and got my own Amazon account, because we have no bookstores where I live, I bought The Summoning and The Reckoning, and I tried to read the series in order. I just couldn't. To me, this will always be the first book. I don't know why. I've always read it out of order. I will continue to always read it out of order. Why? My brain cannot function that way. Do these series make perfect sense if you read it in order? Yes. Yes, they do. Why do I read it out of order? I have absolutely no idea. Chloe and Drake are my favorite people ever. I love them. They're one of my favorite romantic slaps of all books I've ever read. I even have the complete tales of it, which is where the author has wrote short little stories where the characters go on other adventures that aren't actually in the book. This is like the aftermath of what happened. So this is a series, again, I always reread it, and I always read it backwards. Always have, always will.